There is a strange pattern I kept noticing. The men who are always polite, always agreeable, always easy to deal with. They are liked, but they are never respected. People talk over them, dismiss them, ignore their boundaries, and no one can quite explain why. Machiavelli understood this long before modern society turned politeness into a moral obligation. He saw something uncomfortable about human nature. Respect is not given to the kindest man. It is given to the least movable one. And politeness, when used incorrectly, makes you very easy to move. Most men don't realize this because politeness feels safe. It feels civil. It feels right. But safety does not create authority. And authority is what determines how people treat you when it actually matters. Here is the first truth you must accept. People do not judge you by your intentions. They judge you by your behavior under pressure. And polite men crack under pressure in very specific ways. They over-explain. They soften boundaries. They apologize for existing. Not because they are weak people, but because they were trained to believe that being agreeable would protect them. Machiavelli would call this a fatal misunderstanding. Because humans test boundaries instinctively, not to be cruel, not even consciously. They test to locate you. Every environment has an unspoken hierarchy. Workplaces, friend groups, families, relationships. And the man who yields first teaches everyone where he stands. Reputation is not built in dramatic moments. It is built in small, repeated concessions. The way you respond when interrupted. The way you handle disagreement. The way you tolerate disrespect and call it being polite. Over time, people learn something about you. They learn how much friction you can handle. And once they learn that, they never forget it. This is why polite men are often shocked when they're disrespected. They think, I've been nothing but nice. But Machiavelli would ask a different question. Were you clear? Were you solid? Or were you simply afraid of tension? Because fear dressed up as politeness is still fear. And fear always leaks. It leaks into your tone, your posture, your timing. You may think you're being considerate. Others experience you as uncertain, and uncertainty invites dominance. This is where the damage begins. You start explaining decisions that need no explanation. You justify boundaries instead of stating them. You turn opinions into questions. Maybe we could. I might be wrong, but I don't want to be difficult. Each phrase seems harmless, but together they tell a very clear story. I do not trust my own position. Machiavelli warned that the man who constantly explains himself hands power to others, because explanation invites evaluation. Strong men state. Weak men defend. And the more you defend, the more people feel entitled to judge. This is why silence carries weight. A man who does not rush to fill space signals containment, deliberation, self-command, not arrogance, control. Politeness fills silence because it is uncomfortable. Authority allows silence because it is secure. And people respond to security instinctively. If you are often interrupted, it is not because people are rude. It is because they learned you will yield. If your boundaries are ignored, it is not because they are unclear. It is because they were never enforced. This is not an attack on kindness. It is a warning about misplaced politeness. Next, we'll expose the first polite habit that destroys reputation faster than insults ever could, and why men keep doing it even when it costs them everything. Stay with me. stands firm invites respect. Think about that for a second. When you over-explain, you are signaling insecurity. You're telling others that you need their approval, that your decisions, your opinions, your actions aren't enough on their own. You may think you're being transparent or considerate or trying to avoid confrontation, but what you're really doing is allowing others to evaluate you, and that is not a position of strength. When you do this, you hand over your power. Because when people judge, they don't just evaluate, they decide your worth in that moment. And this goes unnoticed, doesn't it? You might think you're being polite, offering reasons for your choices. But each explanation you give just lowers your status. Why? Because deep down, people don't want to follow someone who is constantly justifying himself. They want to follow someone who decides. Someone who doesn't need to explain his every move. Machiavelli would say this: he who is constantly explaining has become too predictable. Predictability kills respect. Let's break this down. Imagine you're in a meeting. You make a decision. It's a solid decision, clear, firm. But instead of owning it, you start offering all the reasons behind it. Here's why I think this is the right approach. And I don't want to come off as rude, but, well, I guess we can look at other options, but this seems like the best. You see how it goes. You overcompensate, you seek approval. You soften the impact of your words. And in doing so, you teach people that your decisions are up for discussion. You teach them that they can sway you. Now compare that with the man who makes the same decision without explanation. He stands tall, makes his point, and moves forward. Does he justify himself? No. Does he defend his position? No. He simply decides. Machiavelli would tell you, when you defend your choices, you open the door for others to question them. When you stand by them, you show your strength. The man who explains himself is always trying to convince others to like his decisions. The man who doesn't is simply letting his decisions speak for themselves. And here's the cold, hard truth. When you over-explain, people start to see you as weak. They see you as someone who needs approval. They see you as someone who doesn't have the courage to just be. You're no longer seen as solid or decisive. You're seen as someone who doubts himself. So what's the solution? Stop explaining. Stop justifying every choice you make. When you make a decision, make it with confidence. Don't offer excuses. Don't provide context unless it's necessary. When you over-explain, you teach people to evaluate you. When you stop over-explaining, you teach them to respect you. I want to leave you with this thought. Machiavelli knew that power isn't about being liked. It's about being unmovable. And the more you explain, the more you move. The more you justify, the more you show your cracks. And when those cracks appear, people stop respecting you. That's the cost of politeness. Next, we'll talk about the second habit that's just as deadly. It might seem innocent, even courteous to do, but it's quietly wrecking your reputation. Stay with me. This one is subtle, yet devastating. It's the second polite habit that destroys your reputation, and it's something most people don't even realize they're doing. Constantly avoiding conflict. We've all been there. You want to keep the peace. You want everyone to like you. You don't want to ruffle any feathers, create tension, or make waves. So you choose to stay silent. You agree when you don't actually agree. You let things slide that should be addressed. You hold your tongue, hoping the problem will just disappear on its own. But here's the ugly truth. Conflict is necessary. It's necessary for respect. It's necessary for clarity. And most importantly, it's necessary for your reputation. Machiavelli understood this well. He wasn't advocating for endless, pointless confrontation. But he knew that avoiding conflict meant that you were willingly letting others control the narrative. Here's the problem. When you avoid conflict, you're essentially giving others the power to shape your story. They'll decide who you are based on your passiveness, not on your strength. You're giving away your authority without realizing it. The truth is, conflict doesn't destroy relationships, it clarifies them. Think about it. Every time you let someone overstep a boundary, every time you back down just to avoid tension, you send the message that you don't have the strength to enforce your position. You don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to yell, but you do need to stand your ground. Machiavelli said it perfectly. A prince must learn to strike at the right moment, and he must not fear making enemies in the process. A man who avoids conflict is not seen as strong, he is seen as weak. Avoiding conflict is the polite man's way of avoiding discomfort. But here's what you don't realize. Discomfort is what creates respect. When you don't back down, when you stand firm in your beliefs, when you confront issues head-on, you send a message to the world that you cannot be moved. The people who are constantly avoiding conflict are the ones who are afraid to be seen for who they really are. They're afraid to show their true opinions, their true boundaries, or to assert their true needs. And that fear, whether you recognize it or not, is palpable to everyone around you. They may not always admit it, but people can feel weakness. They can feel uncertainty. It doesn't matter how polite you are. It doesn't matter how nice you seem. If you never confront issues directly, people will start to see you as someone who is easily controlled. And the moment you let them control the narrative is the moment you lose your power. Now, this doesn't mean you should become a tyrant or start picking fights over every little thing. But if you're constantly avoiding necessary conflict, you're not protecting anyone, you're losing ground. You're not protecting the relationship. You're not protecting your reputation. You're giving away respect. The solution? Embrace conflict. When something needs to be said, say it. When something is wrong, address it. When a boundary is crossed, defend it. Machiavelli was all about calculated risks, not mindless aggression. He understood that true power lies in the ability to stay calm in the face of conflict and still assert yourself. To hold your position and let people know, this is where I stand and you cannot move me. The most attractive men, those who hold authority, are the ones who are not afraid of tension. They know that the temporary discomfort of conflict only sharpens relationships and reinforces respect. Next, we'll explore the third polite habit that's secretly destroying your reputation. It might sound harmless, but it's a trap that many people fall into, and once you fall into it, you'll find it hard to escape. Stay tuned. This one hits home for many. It's something that might make you feel good. It's something that sounds noble, even generous, but it's a killer for your reputation. Always putting others first. Let's be clear. There is nothing wrong with being considerate or caring. Helping others is not the problem. The problem is when you do it at the expense of yourself. Machiavelli warned that a prince who always serves others becomes their servant, not their leader. Think about it. How many times have you put someone else's needs ahead of your own, even when it meant sacrificing something important to you? Maybe it was your time, your resources, your goals. Maybe it was your own well-being. And maybe, just maybe, it was your own respect. You see, when you constantly prioritize others, you're not being generous, you're being submissive. It doesn't matter how polite or kind it seems. People can see it for what it really is, a lack of boundaries. When you put others ahead of yourself, it might feel good in the moment. It might feel like you're being helpful, that you're doing the right thing. But deep down, you're teaching people that your needs don't matter. You're showing them that your time and your energy are disposable. And when people sense that, they stop respecting you. Because they see you as easy to manipulate, predictable, and easy to take advantage of. Machiavelli believed that, to be respected, a leader must put himself first, not at the expense of others, but in the sense that he controls his own needs and does not sacrifice his own value just to make others comfortable. He understood that true power is about knowing your worth and not compromising it. This doesn't mean you become a cold, selfish person who only cares about himself. But it does mean you protect your own needs. You make sure that you are valued before you offer that value to anyone else. When you constantly put others first, you train them to expect your sacrifice. You train them to see you as someone who will always be there, no matter the cost to yourself. You make yourself predictable, and predictability kills respect. The people who constantly ask for your time, attention, or help will stop appreciating you when they know they can always rely on you to drop everything for them. And worse, they'll start taking you for granted. It's the same principle Machiavelli understood about rulers. A ruler who constantly sacrifices himself for his subjects loses his authority over time. He becomes dependent on their approval, and they become dependent on him. It's a dangerous game that eventually turns him into a servant. The solution? You must establish your own value first. You must care for your own needs and put yourself at the top of the priority list without guilt. Machiavelli didn't advocate for cold-heartedness. He knew the balance. Serve others, but never at the cost of your own dignity. Help others, but always maintain boundaries. Be generous, but make sure that generosity doesn't deplete you. When people know that you have limits, that you will not be their doormat, they will respect you. They will see you as someone who values himself, and that's the kind of person others want to follow. Next, we'll dive into the fourth polite habit that silently undermines your reputation. It's the habit that makes you second-guess your every move, even when you have every right to be assertive. Stay with me. If you've been following along, you've probably already started to notice a pattern. Politeness, when taken too far, leads to weakness. And this next habit is perhaps the most dangerous one of all, constantly seeking approval. You know the type. The guy who always asks, "Did I do this right?" The man who constantly checks in, "What do you think of this idea?" The one who needs confirmation from others just to feel validated. It might seem like a small thing. You might tell yourself, "I just want to make sure I'm on the right track," or "I just want to be sure I'm not stepping on any toes." But here's the brutal truth. This constant seeking of approval kills your confidence and your reputation. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. He knew that a man who constantly looks to others for validation becomes dependent on their opinion and, in turn, loses his own self-authority. You see, when you are constantly asking for approval, you are signaling something very powerful, that you don't trust your own judgment. And that is a huge turnoff. Machiavelli said it best, "He who depends on others for approval will never be free, for he will always be a slave to their opinions." What does this mean for you? It means you are handing your power away every single time you second-guess yourself. People can sense when you're uncertain about your own choices. They can feel it in your hesitation. They can see it in your constant need for reassurance. And let me tell you this, when you're always seeking approval, people lose respect for you. They may not say it out loud. They may still smile and nod. But deep down, they start to see you as weak as someone who can be molded and controlled. Someone who doesn't stand firm in his own decisions. Why? Because confidence isn't just about being right all the time. It's about owning your choices even when they're wrong. It's about being solid in who you are and trusting that your judgment is good enough. When you seek approval from others, you communicate that you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, why should anyone else? Now I know what you might be thinking. Isn't it good to ask for feedback sometimes? Isn't it important to make sure I'm doing the right thing? And yes, feedback is important. But there is a huge difference between seeking feedback and constantly looking for approval. Feedback is a tool for growth. Seeking approval is a sign of insecurity. The man who seeks feedback is confident enough to improve. The man who seeks approval is afraid of failure. You need to learn to trust your decisions without relying on others to tell you that you're doing the right thing. Machiavelli's philosophy is clear on this. A ruler who is constantly worried about the opinions of his subjects cannot rule with power. He is enslaved by their approval. His authority is compromised by his need to please. And it's the same for you. If you are constantly second-guessing yourself and seeking external validation, your authority is compromised. You'll never fully command respect because you've allowed others to dictate your worth. So, what can you do instead? Start by trusting your own judgment. Make decisions with confidence and stand by them, even if they're not perfect. You don't need everyone's approval to know that your decisions matter. Here's a simple way to start. Before seeking others' opinions, ask yourself, what do I think? Trust that your own perspective has value. Start making decisions based on your own instincts and don't apologize for them. When you stop seeking constant approval, people will begin to see you as solid, decisive, and most importantly, worthy of respect. Next, we'll address another polite habit that is quietly eroding your power. It's the habit of deflecting compliments and how it might be costing you far more than you realize. Stay with me. The next habit that's quietly destroying your reputation might feel uncomfortable to admit. It's the polite habit that many people think is humble, but in reality, it's a subtle way of saying you don't believe in your own value. Deflecting compliments. You know the moment. Someone says, "You did a great job," or "You look really good today," or "That was an impressive presentation." And what do? You immediately say, "Oh, it was nothing," or "I just got lucky," or "I've had better days." It's a reflex. It feels polite, almost humble, to downplay your own achievements or appearance. But here's the hard truth. When you deflect compliments, you tell others that you don't value yourself and they start to believe it. Machiavelli understood this very well. He said, "A prince must never appear weak or uncertain, especially when praise is offered. To deny one's own greatness is to deny the power that others see in you." In other words, when you deflect compliments, you weaken your own presence. You deflate your aura of authority. You shrink in the eyes of others. People give compliments because they see something valuable in you. They recognize a skill, a quality, or an achievement that stands out. When you immediately deflect that compliment, you're telling them that you don't believe in the value they see in you. And without even realizing it, you're creating doubt in their minds. They start to wonder, if you don't believe in your own value, should I? Machiavelli warned that humility must never come at the expense of authority. While you don't need to boast or flaunt your achievements, you do need to acknowledge them. When someone praises you, own it. Don't downplay it. Don't shy away from it. Don't make excuses. Simply accept the compliment with confidence. It's not arrogance. It's not egotism. It's the recognition that you have earned it. You see, when you deflect, you're not just being polite. You're discrediting your own worth. And that's exactly what people start to believe. Imagine this. You're at a meeting and someone compliments your work. Instead of shrugging it off or downplaying it, try this. Say thank you and let it sit. Own your skills. Own your efforts. Acknowledge that you contributed something valuable. This doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you solid. It makes you trustworthy. And, more importantly, it makes people respect you. Machiavelli was clear about how respect is earned. A man who cannot own his own achievements is seen as someone who cannot own his own power. When you accept a compliment, you're telling people that you believe in your worth. And when others see you believe in your value, they start to believe it too. The solution? Stop deflecting. Accept praise when it's given. Acknowledge your achievements without hesitation or guilt. It doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you someone who knows their value. Next, we'll tackle the sixth habit, one that might seem like just being nice, but is actually killing your reputation in ways you can't even imagine. Stay with me. The final habit that's quietly destroying your reputation? It's one that most men think is the key to building relationships. In fact, it's often viewed as a sign of kindness, generosity, and support. But the truth is, it's a trap. Always being available. How many times have you dropped everything just to be there for someone? How many times have you answered every text, returned every call, or rushed to help, no matter what you were doing? You've been taught that being available makes you a good person, that it shows you care, that it strengthens bonds and builds trust. But here's the reality. It doesn't. Machiavelli saw through this very clearly. He knew that availability should be earned, not freely given. When you're always available, you teach people that you don't have a life of your own, that they come first and your time is less valuable. People may appreciate your help, your attention, your willingness to drop everything for them. But here's the thing. They won't respect you for it. Respect is built by the perception of scarcity. And when you're always there, always answering, always willing, you become too predictable. Too easy. Predictability kills power. It's a simple law of human nature. When something is always accessible, it loses its value. And that is exactly what happens when you're always available to people, whether it is for work, relationships, or social engagements. The moment you stop being a mystery is the moment you start losing respect. When people know they can always rely on you to show up, they stop valuing you. Here's the trick. You need to create value by creating distance. Not distance in terms of emotional coldness, but in terms of time, energy, and effort. You don't need to be rude. You don't need to ignore people. But you do need to control your availability. When you make yourself too easy to reach, too eager to help, you remove the tension that makes you desirable. Think about it. When you make someone wait, when they have to earn your attention, they start to value it more. They start to respect you more. Machiavelli wrote about the art of absence, how strategic distance can enhance your mystique and power. When you're always available, you lose that edge. You become just another face in the crowd, always willing, always around, always doing what people ask. Instead of making yourself available at all times, create moments of absence. Let people wonder about you. Let them miss you. Let them feel like they have to earn your time. Here's a powerful exercise. Stop answering every text immediately. Don't take every call. Don't drop everything the moment someone asks for your help. It's not about being dismissive. It's about showing that your time is valuable. Your attention is earned, not freely given. By doing this, you start to control the dynamic. People will begin to respect your time and ultimately respect you more. You'll no longer be seen as just someone they can rely on whenever they need you. You'll be seen as someone with a purpose and a life outside of their demands. Now we'll wrap everything up and show you how to start changing these habits immediately. Stay tuned. Now, here we are at the final habit, letting others interrupt you. This one seems almost trivial, doesn't it? It seems so small, maybe even polite, to allow others to speak before you finish, to give them the floor and to let them dominate the conversation. But this polite behavior is destroying your reputation more than you think. Think about this. When you allow others to interrupt you, you are sending a very clear message. Your words, your thoughts, and your time aren't important. When someone cuts you off, you don't just lose your place in the conversation, you lose respect. Machiavelli's philosophy was rooted in the idea of control. A ruler who allows others to interrupt him, especially in a public setting, becomes vulnerable. He shows weakness because he's not in control of the situation. And let's face it, interruptions are not just a harmless social faux pas. They are a direct assault on your authority. The person doing the interrupting doesn't just want to speak, they want control of the conversation. And when you let them, you hand over that control to them. By letting others interrupt you, you tell them that you are willing to be dominated. You signal that your voice doesn't matter as much as theirs. And here's the thing, when you constantly let people interrupt you, you make them the center of attention. You lose power. You become the background character in your own story. So what's the solution? Learn to reclaim your voice. It starts by recognizing the power of your words. When you're speaking, don't just pause to let someone jump in. If someone interrupts you, assert yourself. Politely, but firmly say, "I wasn't finished yet. Let me finish my thought." You don't have to be rude. You don't have to shout or get aggressive. But you do have to reclaim the floor. Machiavelli would tell you, a prince who allows others to speak over him is no prince at all. He is a subject to others' whims. When you reclaim the conversation, you assert your dominance over it. You show others that your thoughts are valuable, that your words deserve to be heard, and that your time is not to be wasted. And guess what happens when you do this? People start to respect you more. They stop cutting you off. They stop interrupting you, because they realize you're someone who commands the conversation and the respect that comes with it. In fact, those who interrupt you often do so because they sense your lack of boundaries. They know they can get away with it. So, the next time you're interrupted, take a breath and reclaim your space. Say, "I wasn't finished," and continue what you were saying. It's that simple. By doing this, you'll stop letting others take control of your narrative and start owning the moment. That's it for the 8 polite habits that are quietly destroying your reputation. Remember, politeness isn't the problem. It's when politeness crosses the line into submissiveness. When you give away your power, respect slips away too. But you don't need to keep living this way. By learning to assert your boundaries, stop seeking constant approval, and own your voice, you'll gain respect in all areas of your life. Start making small changes today and watch as the way people treat you shifts. Thanks for sticking with me through these habits. Now, it's time to make those changes and step into your full power. If you enjoyed this, like, share, and subscribe for more. Drop a comment below and let me know which habit you'll be cutting out first. Remember, respect is earned. Own it. If this content resonated, subscribe to the Dark Pattern Decoder. More dark psychology teachings are coming. Deeper insights, knowledge that transforms not just your relationships, but your entire life. Share this video with one man who needs to hear it. The algorithms favor those who spread value. And until next time, remember, the man who masters himself needs master nothing.